Hi everyone, it's me again, Sir Philip Jason Falses, and this is the second time that I will be presenting this recorded presentation about my report in qualitative research. And for this week, I will be um, giving the third chapter of the book of Sage Handbook of Action Research Participative Inquiry and Practice, the chapter 3, and it talks about some trends in the praxis of Participatory Action Research by MD Anisora Raman. And to start with, this chapter traces some trends in the praxis of the participatory action research, and it also introduces the brief history of PAR and the recent development in the last century of trends alongside in this study. Here, central thinking of this perspective, which includes the ordinary, the underprivileged people, will collectively investigate their own reality by themselves or in partnership with friendly outsiders, take action of their own to advance their lives and reflect on their ongoing experience. Through participatory action research, self investigation by underprivileged people naturally generates action by them. And sometimes it also generates inaction. And it may lead to first to advance their own lives, secondly, so that action unites, and lastly, it may lead to organically with research. That means research as it is, and advancement, action, and organically with research work together in participatory action research. Let us begin discovering the first trend of participatory action research, which started in Germany, and this is called the emancipatory research. This is the earliest reference to and the theoretical reflection of the PAR, and in found in the writings of Heinz Moser about the trend in Germany. And Moser, when we talk about emancipatory research in Germany, it means working for the interests of the people with the political change of 1969. The birth of emancipatory research in Germany, with that of Tanzania, as mentioned by the previous reporters, emerged awareness and inspired by a new pro-people political climate of connecting research with popular practice. Let us have the second trend in participatory action research. It is the Latin American trend. It started in the 1970s by Orlando Falls Borda. Borda's writings provided an analysis of action research, and Falls Borda observed that the Colombian search in its action research for a science of the proletariat, or we call that as the popular science, had remained inconclusive, with its action researchers in the characteristic impatience imposing on the people the certain general thesis of historical materialism and developed in other contexts and social formations. Borda called for action research to give people a true sense of ownership. That is the second trend in participatory action research. Let us have the broader one, and I think the more comprehensive one. This is what we call the next trend. The third trend is the PR network of the International Council for Adult Education, which mainly focus on education. But here, it was formed in 1977 by a participant research group based in Toronto, Canada, who immersed in Tanzania. And this network presented the first definition statement of the participatory research, reproduced by Bud Hall in a paper presented in 1997. And this group of PR team created the definition statement of participatory research. And they have 7 definitions. Let's have the first one. It says here that PR involves a whole range of powerless groups of people: the exploited, the poor, the oppressed, and the marginal. Secondly, it involves the full and active participation of the community in the entire research process. So the community is being involved. Third, the subject of the research originates in the community itself, and the problem is defined. It is analyzed and solved by the community. So the community becomes the problem makers and the problem solvers at the same time. If not really makers, but the problem originates in the community. Fourth, the ultimate goal is the radical transformation of the social reality and the improvement of the lives of the people themselves. The beneficiaries of the research are the members, of course, of the community. So when it is for the community and when it is created in the community, the beneficiaries here, of course, are the members of the community. Fifth, the process of participatory research can create a greater awareness in the people of their own resources and mobilize them for self-reliant development. Sixth, it is a more scientific method or research in that the participation of the community in the research process facilitates a more accurate and authentic analysis of social reality. And the last one, which I think is also an important one, the researcher is a committed participant and learner in the process of research for the PR network. Furthermore, the PR network expanded throughout the late 1970s and 1980s and has been responsible for giving visible concepts like this around the world. Let's have the fourth trend in PAR, which is the South Asian trend. So this trend started with the coming together of a team of South Asian social scientists, including the present writer, about the same time the PAR was growing independently. So it grows simultaneously together with the power. This team undertook a study of the Bhumi Sena, which means the land army, a political movement of an oppressed tribal group in Palgak Taluk in Maharashtra in India. And over time, with its passionate concern for popular self-determination, the Bhumi Sena developed a unique model of decentralized decision-making, thus promoting the people's praxis and never dictating action. Now, let's talk about the concept and sensitization of the animator as the fifth trend. This was the extension of the Bomisena as the team in India decided to explore whether people's initiatives is applicable to a different social context in Sri Lanka, which are neighboring countries, India and Sri Lanka. For this, external animators has to be recruited and sensitized to work as keys to unlock self-thinking and self-initiatives of the people. And as a result of this experiment, the animators in Sri Lanka had successes in promoting self-reliant participatory processes of oppressed villagers who found their paths for getting out dependent structures once. And this is what they say the rust in the brain was removed. Now, let's talk about ILO's core program in Asia. This is a global program called the Participatory Organizations of the Rural Poor or the Poor and had been started in the International Labor Organization or the ILO directed by the present writer. And their participation in the Bumisena experiment deeply became a transformative experience. The program initially launched participatory research subjects through national action researchers in South Asia and the Philippines, which developed their own perspective or respective methodologies of research. In India, PAR was undertaken for forest-based people. In the Philippines, a PAR study conducted by Women's Research Committee, it talks about women settlers movement initiated the formation of a research coordination team in our country. So it was started by women. All women participants were invited to witness two dramas staged by women settlers to validate the data collected and to synthesize their experiences. And this provided an opportunity for the Vanguard Group, composed of the 14-member women settlers, to develop their capacity to understand immediate micro issues in relation to broader macro issues. Now, from Asia, let's move now to Latin America. Soon thereafter, Falsborda initiated the four participatory research exercises in Colombia, in Nicaragua, and Mexico. All of these three, the Nicaragua exercise stood out both in breadth and the depth. It is more substantial compared to the three. This was the first ever known participatory research in a revolutionary socialist country. And this was authored by Malena de Montis, and one conclusion revealed that the much publicized adult education program in Nicaragua was criticized as a program in which the people were also being taught. Now, from Latin America, let's move now to Africa. Here, participatory research started in 6 villages in the zone of Bamba Tailin in Senegal in 1975, or from the country, the Zimbabwe, and has since then spread to the other areas of the country. The process started as a spontaneous inquiry initiated in the homes of friends on economic problems of the villagers, leading to the formation of a delegation to the different parts of the zone just to conduct the different censuses in human, agricultural, livestock resources of the zone and the needs of the country. From South or from Africa, let's move to the Hungary. The People's Self Review in Hungary is the next trend. It is the last participatory research conducted by PORP in 1989 to 1990, inviting communities to get together and review their experience with socialism and identify collective perspectives and tasks for the future. So the People's Self-Review Project in Hungary also worked with the Gypsy community in a settlement in northeastern part of the country and stimulated the community to mobilize themselves to campaign against social prejudices against them and for better housing facilities. Let's have the PAR Bangladesh vintage known as the Gonogobishona. After the country's liberation war in 1971, a number of NGOs created in Bangladesh adopted Paulo Freire's pedagogy of conscientization as an approach to adult education. And a group of Gono Gobeshoks, or the people researchers, was formed purposely to seek self-understanding to advance their own lives. It spreads like a positive virus with the village mothers, forming social activities which benefit the entire community. It is a very long story, but at the same time, it is the most recent development of PAR, from which the RIB or the Research Initiatives Bangladesh was also formed. Now, to wrap up, why PAR matters, on a personal note, PAR, I believe, is the first letter. PAR stands for the people. It gives not just equality, but also equity for all members of the society, especially the poor, the oppressed, and the marginalized. Secondly, the second letter is A. I believe that PAR is for all. It is inclusive and it caters all gender, races, and it can be conducted to any community. And the last letter R, PAR is for reflection. It gives the opportunity to reflect whether to the researcher as the participant, religious participant, and also to the actual participant of the study. So I think with people, with for all, and for the reflection, PAR, the participant research, action research really matters for all of us as researchers. And I think this is the end of my presentation. Should you have questions regarding my presentation, please feel free to drop by any comment or message me for your clarity or clarification. That would be all. Thank you and